Welcome back to We Like That podcast.
Because we like that. Welcome back to We Like That podcast.
Because we like that.
Yes, indeedy doos. How was your week, Calvin?
Fine, I did nothing. The end.
Okay. Right. Same. Also did nothing. It was fine. All right. So this week, we're talking about the rest of Tyler Perry's Beauty in Black Part 1. That's episodes 3 through 8. And then we also caught Jailbreak Love on the Run on Netflix. And of course, the latest episode of Life After Lockup.
Life After Lockup.
Okay. You just repeated the last thing I said?
Yes.
How about moving into That Happened with Joe?
That happened with Joe.
Okay.
Speedy bop bop to get the details and the news you need to know. That happened with Joe.
Okay. Real quick, Love is Blind reunion dropped, and apparently it was a whole lot of nothing. I did not watch it because I knew it was be nothing. The hosts are trash. So, quick rundown of the couples. Marissa and Ramses apparently still sleeping together. That man tore her heart out of her chest, but she was like, yeah, I'm still giving some. So, great. Then Monica and Steven, they didn't even touch on. They didn't go any further. So who cares?
So then his argument about her not having sex was correct then.
How is that correct?
Because he told her she ain't nothing and she's still having sex with him.
I'm confused why that would make him correct. Anyway.
Okay.
His argument was that she didn't want to give him any sex. So how?
Yeah. So what was the issue?
You just like being antagonistic.
No,
I don't know why I'm even.
What was the issue?
He said the issue was she wouldn't give him sex when he wanted sex.
And why wasn't she?
Because she was literally sick.
Okay. That's a poor excuse now.
Okay. Anyway, you just like being antagonistic.
No, it's a poor excuse because this dude apparently supposedly destroyed your heart. Why are we still sleeping with him?
How does that relate to him being right about the timing of sex? I don't understand your point here.
My point is,
if you're trying to say Marissa is flawed by getting hurt by somebody and then turning around and sleeping with that person, yes.
My point is,
she is.
Her whole argument about anything with him made
She didn't have an argument with him. He had arguments with her, which was enough for him to call back on the wedding.
Well, evidently he was right because he can still get whatever he wants from her and not have to be with her.
Okay. Taylor and Garrett didn't move to San Diego, even though Taylor repeatedly said on the show that she was going to move to San Diego to be back with her family. Instead, she is living in Virginia, close to Garrett's family. So people are like, that's interesting that Garrett said he would move to San Diego with you, and then he said no at the last minute, and now you guys are still in Virginia. That's interesting.
That's not interesting. That's par for the course.
Okay.
She gave in, which she probably knew she was going to give in.
I don't know. Then we have Hannah and Nick. Hannah doubled down on being a bitch, basically. She was like, yeah, everything I said to Nick is because I'm a straightforward person. That everybody can take being blunt and straightforward. And people were like, that's interesting. Because you also were not empathetic at all. So there's that. Additionally, we found out that they had to tape that particular segment more than once to get like a juicier reaction out of the audience. So that's crazy. And then apparently...
Because no one cared.
Apparently, the big issue Hannah had with Nick was that he texted the guys in confidence that he didn't initially find Hannah attractive. I don't know why that's a big deal, because she repeatedly said that he wasn't attractive, but that's what they ran with. And Marissa and Ramses went after Nick for being a liar. Child, anywho, then...
How are you going to go with somebody be a liar, but you're sleeping with the dude that broke your heart?
She had like mad heat for Nick for supposedly treating her friend a certain way. But my thing is, like, let's say Nick did do all of that. Let's say he did say he didn't find her attractive initially. He treated Hannah with nothing but respect. I don't think that it's cruel to not tell somebody to their face that you think they're ugly. I don't understand the problem. But anywho, whatever. Moving on. Alex and Tim also got some heat. Some people were like, Alex, girl, you were just messy and you weren't very considerate of some time. And other people really came for Tim and was like, we don't know what you want from her, man. Like, what are you talking about? You say she's too needy. And when you try to hug her, she didn't react. And you try to do this when she was asleep. What do you mean? Tim said he felt like a victim. Alex said she felt like a victim. They both victims. Who cares?
Like I said, everybody's like, well, Tim, I told you Tim had no real argument other than the fact that she didn't want to spend time with his family.
Well, he actually had several arguments. They bring up the fight. They talked about the fight that happened off camera where she allegedly covered his mouth. She said that she didn't lay hands on him at all, that she just kind of mimed it. I don't know what that means. But so
And
whatever that is.
That means she did this.
I guess. I guess so. Calvin's making a face, but yeah.
What she did was she put her hand
Like,
where his mouth
but
was,
left some space between her
left
hand and his face.
some space in between it. He took it as she touched my lips.
Well, my thing is that fight out was like a big blow up, drag out fight for both of y'all. Both of y'all lost it. And yet you both decided to continue on with it. So the other thing that came out, somebody got their hand on the recent contract for this season of Love is Blind. And in that contract, basically it stipulates that they could be facing damages from the show, meaning they're going to have to pay the show if they don't try to carry their relationship to the furthest extent of the show. So in that context, it makes a little bit more sense why, even though there were all these flags on the play for these people to not proceed, they did, because they didn't want to be responsible for any potential damages, quote unquote, that could happen if they ducked out early. So, plus there has to be like final approval by the producers also. Like it's a little crazy. But anywho, Ashley and Tyler, the biggest couple everybody wanted to hear like some resolution on, with all of the stuff that was coming out online about Tyler, the baby mama, her wife, the 3 kids. Does Ashley know? According to Ashley, she knew everything. And not only that, it was her idea to drop the segment in the show where he's telling her, and she made it look like he was telling her after the fact. Apparently, he told her in the pod, but Ashley's choice was to make it look like he dropped that information on her outside of the pod so that they had a better storyline. It was Ashley's choice. She says that she's been in on it since the beginning. My man, basically is what she said. And I hate to admit it, but you kind of called it. She might be the reason why he's terminating his relationship with the kids. So that's how it ended. That was it for the reunion. Great. Also, they like went and showed a bunch of like former alumni of Love is Blind. Nobody cares. It didn't have anything to do with anything. So yeah, everybody was disappointed about the reunion. They didn't get any answers. Can't wait for the next season.
I don't know why, but anywho, I'm gonna call BS on her saying she knew the pods.
Oh,
she didn't know.
Okay.
I was in on a joke the whole time. No, you weren't.
Okay.
That's something I'll call BS on.
I don't know what's right. Current. I don't know what's current now.
Just say you don't care. I'd be more acceptable to saying you just don't care. To me, that makes more sense.
Here's my thing, though. Now they're trying to step forward and be influencers. Circling back to the Vince McMahon doc, that whole notion of heat, like it doesn't matter if it's positive, negative, as long as it's heat that's behind you, that really only works in certain contexts. In this particular reality show, if you're trying to then spin this off into an influencer career, but you're not seen favorably on the show, that's absolutely going to hinder your influencer career. The whole point of being an influencer is that people like you. So I'm confused by this move. I'm confused, especially since Ashley is trying to be an influencer. I am very confused by this move.
I think people confuse that stuff with TV.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I say about that.
It's very interesting. So yeah, that's all happening. Also, quick shout out to this TikToker. I never remember this person's name, but she has a phenology degree, and she recently discovered the Uso brothers. First of all, 10 out of 10 depiction on her phenology assessment. Fantastical. And I like that she is broadening her horizons. It was just all kind of like from the Black perspective, but she's widening those horizons, and I appreciate her. So, on to Tyler Perry's Beauty in the Black.
And women don't think of their vaginas.
What?
You sure?
Huh?
Tyler Perry's Black is Black. Or Blacker is Blacker. What is it again?
Beauty in Black.
Beauty in Black.
Yeah.
I like how he uses these nice names for debauchery. It should be debauchery in black. That's what it should be.
Well, so I watched the episodes of the season. I watched we stopped at episode 2 for the last podcast, and then I watched episodes 3 through 8. Calvin watched here and there.
I power watched.
Not really. He couldn't even get through the last half of a singular
I
episode.
drive by watched.
So, in my mind, this is basically separated into 3 categories. You got the rich bitches, which is like the people that run Beauty in Black, that whole family, Mallory, Roy, Charles, Horace, Norman, Horace's ex-wife Olivia, who's Roy and Charles's mom. All of them basically are terrible people apparently, and just kind of run things like they're gangsters. Then we have the in-betweens, which are the people that currently work like around Jules. Jules is an in-between. He works for the family, but he has a little bit higher standing. He does all these little side hustles for them. He knows a lot on this family. He seems to be working all the angles. And then you have the poor paupers, which is Kimmy, who's the
Pretty much everybody who works in the
sex
strip club.
worker,
All the strippers in the strip club.
angel body, Rain.
All,
But
all the strippers in the strip club, Javon. Just say that.
but I would also say Mallory's driver, Calvin, and her personal assistant, Jillian.
Okay.
They don't work at the strip club.
Everybody that works for the family.
I think everybody who works for Jules, I would say. Everybody who works like under Jules is basically, because they all work under Jules because they all did some kind of petty crime where they got off of those crimes because of an inside, I guess, like
A
man
judge.
that
Inside
they
judge.
worked. Now, when I watched episode 1 and 2, it made it seem like Norman was the former federal judge. That's what they said. But then all of a sudden, it's a whole other person.
Okay. Let's okay. There's no way Norman is a judge because Norman is too much of a hothead gangster.
First of all, I don't know why you're trying to apply logic to a Tyler Perry project at all.
So
Don't know why you're
to
doing that.
me, either he has dementia and he can't control his anger, or something. This makes no sense.
I would like to know why there's such hard gangsters. That's what I would like to know. I would like to, because they say they went to Warburton. That is an Ivy League school. So I have more questions as to why they then had to take on this gangster mentality. We don't get a whole lot of backstory on the elders in the family, just that they are mean as hell right now and they are prepared for anything. But that's really all we get.
Apparently, nobody in his family gets along too. That's another thing.
Well, there wasn't a lot of love also in the family, is also what we start to learn. There wasn't a lot of love in their upbringing. Basically, episodes 3, I would say 3 through 5, just kind of continues set up where everybody is. How Kimmy is still struggling with her life as a sex worker / stripper / whatever punching bag. Trying to take care of her friend Rain. She thinks Rain is dead. She goes to visit Rain one day at the hospital in county, and there's nobody there. And the old woman that's next to Rain's bed says Rain is gone, and Kimmy takes that to mean Rain is dead. We find out in future episodes that's not the case. Kimmy was under the impression that her deal with Horace was that he was going to pose as Rain's grandfather to check on her, and she never gets any confirmation from Horace that that's what he did at all. She just knows Rain's gone. So in the midst of her being hurt about Rain being gone, she decides to broker a deal with Angel, who Horace was also messing with,
Mind you,
to rob him. Rob Horace.
Mind you, Angel was the dude that got her in this bullshit in the first place.
Yeah, Angel.
But we're gonna still try to hitch our horse to this idiot anyway.
Angel was trying to work a deal with with Rain, back in the day when they were all kids, to run drugs across the country, and it didn't work. And then they got under Jules' thumb in the first place. Angel is also working his own deals with his baby mama. He's got a baby mama that don't trust him as far as she can throw him. I don't know if that's because he has a history of cheating or they just want her to be crazy. It feels like they just want her to be crazy. This lady doesn't have any other story other than her harsh reactions to Angel. She knocks out the windows in his car because she feels he's taken too long to come home one day. So she thinks he's sleeping with somebody from the club. And then she sets fire to that car. So she also depends on him for money. So I don't know how smart this was, but that's what she did. And she kicks him out. And then we also have Angel just kind of like breaking down and being like, it shouldn't be this hard. He just wants to take care of his son and do his own thing. But any money he makes goes straight back to Jules and into whatever they're paying off for this debt that seems to never get resolved ever. Kimmy's also under the impression that Horace is in on all of this because she recognized that Jules works for Horace and Jules is their boss, their pimp. So they're like, this goes up further in the trail. So they're going to get their get back, and they're going to get it through Horace is their plan.
You find out Horace's son is having issues with his boyfriend, who is another lawyer.
Charles.
Who's Charles?
Charles is the son.
That's the gay one?
Uh-huh.
Charles is pretty much having issues with his boyfriend. I guess
he's not his boyfriend, we find out.
Okay.
They have a close relationship where the lawyer, I have his name, where the lawyer is only sleeping with Charles. He has like a close relationship with Charles, but he also knows that Charles is not into a monogamous relationship. So they hadn't put a title on anything. And then when the lawyer starts to pull back, Charles gets really upset about that. And he's like, you don't take us seriously, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah.
Hey, what episode does that put us at now?
That's still episode 5. So we also have Roy, who's dealing with the aftermath of finding out that somebody called Mallory on him when he was with Kimmy. He initially believes it to be Kimmy, but when he calls Kimmy back to further humiliate and degrade her, he lets her go and says that she's not smart enough to have done it. And I don't know if he truly believes that or if he just was tired of it and didn't want to keep going after this or whatever. Then there's a moment where he forces Jillian to try to give him head at the office, and it gets broken up by Calvin. Calvin steps in to save this poor girl from having to do that. But this sets off Jillian's maybe boyfriend, Calvin, who's like, why would you even do that with him? And she's like, nigga, we are sex workers. Like, we are trapped. We're trapped. We're trapped, nigga. This was not of my own volition. But he doesn't want to hear it. Calvin is pissed. So to get back at Jillian, he hits on Mallory and gives her head in the car one day, which is enough to get her sprung, apparently. And then he just starts talking to her any kind of way. And basically is like, you gonna get this dick and you gonna like it. And she goes, I guess I will. Yes, okay. So then we also have Mallory and Roy going head to head with Lena, the lawyer. Lena is an outside influence who is currently basically at the head of the lawsuit that Beauty in Black is facing for causing cancer in their customers with their products. Roy is not handling the PR for the lawsuit well. He's asking people on the street if they were hired to get there. He's basically making it sound like it's no big deal. These people all caught cancer. He's handling it bad for imagery. And then Lena, the lawyer, hits him up, knowing that he's the weak link to everything happening in Beauty in the Black. But she lays into his ego by saying he's super smart. If he just talked to her, maybe they could figure out a different way. He calls her up on it, but then makes it very, very known that he's interested in sleeping with her, and he wants to take her off of the case entirely and have her work for his company. And she looks she looked like she doesn't understand what's happening whatsoever. She's like, why would you think this is a plan? And then Mallory shows up to try to stop him from talking because he's terrible at talking. But then she turns around and asks the same thing. She's like, you should work for us. And she's like, I would never. Then we also find out Lena, Mallory, and Roy all went to college together. And Roy may have had some unfinished romantic business with Lena, the lawyer, but it was because of Mallory. And Lena does not like Mallory. And that's all we get with that. We also have Norman dealing with the loss of dealing with the accident his wife was in. She's in a slow.
What accident? She was hit. She wasn't in an accident. Someone tried to pretty much say someone tried to kill her.
First of all, the first time was an accident. Mallory did not see her on the road. She was running in the rain. She did not see her. Okay. Ran over her, left her to die. Roy comes down that same road a couple hours later, also runs over her. Doesn't leave her to die, piles her into the car. Then we got that whole scheme.
This show should be called Bad Decisions in Black.
It was just messy. So they're calling it an accident when they picked her up from the tow yard. Norman immediately blamed his nephews. He blamed Charles specifically. He was like, I know it's that gay guy. Charles was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And it wasn't him, it's Roy and Mallory. But Mallory is also pivoting that it's only Roy. She's like, Roy did all that. That's what she tells Jules. So Norman's watching his wife, and he gets some good news. He finds out that she is slowly but surely coming out of her coma. She's healed enough to come out of her medically induced coma. So he tells Jules, and Jules immediately tells Mallory. And Mallory's like, we can't let that happen. You got to do what you got to do. Jules is like, I'm going to have to get Horace involved. And Mallory's like, why would you get Horace involved? He doesn't answer her. He goes straight to Horace and is like, we need to do something about Norman's wife. Roy was involved in the hit and run. Horace is cussing up a storm about how he's got to protect his kids. But then we cut to Norman in the hospital, just talking to a nurse that comes in to help take care of his wife. She has a syringe that she pulls out of her pocket while talking to Norman very nicely, asking him if he wants a bed. Does he want a better chair? He must be a very loving husband. And she pumps something into the IV bags, which by itself is pretty innocuous. She could just be putting in more medicine of some kind or more painkiller. So he doesn't think anything of it. He leaves to go do something, comes back, and his wife is in the middle of like an event. Some kind of medical event is happening. We find out later his wife suffered a brain bleed. She's now brain dead. What's happening? So Norman quickly puts together one, that nurse may not have been a nurse. When he goes to check with the other nurses about who that nurse was that came in, none of them know what he's talking about at all. Then he starts backtracking about who knew that my wife was coming out of a coma. It was really just Jules. But Jules could have told the family. And he already has beef with Horace. So then he connects that Jules must be working for Horace. And if Horace knows about it, that means he was right. One of his nephews was involved in his wife's accident. He puts it together like super fast. But of course, everybody's telling him, no, that's not what's happening. Then he decides he needs to move his wife's dead-brained body. He's like, I'm going to move her from this hospital to another place. The doctor comes out and is like, this is not a good plan. She's not stable enough for you to move her anywhere. She could die. And he's like, that's not going to be the case. I have this other doctor with me, and he said it was fine. And it's this white man being like, yeah, I guess it's fine. They put her in the ambulance. They take her off. The family finds out that the body's being moved, but nobody knows where it's going. And he won't tell anybody in the family either. But in the middle of transportation, she redlines. And Norman kills everybody in the ambulance. Kills everybody. He's like, I thought you said it was safe to the doctor. The doctor goes, I guess I was wrong. Norman goes, I guess you were. Bang, bang. Bang, 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 bang. The driver's dead. Nurse is dead. Doctor's dead. And he just leaves.
He steps out of the ambulance. Everybody's dead.
Broad daylight.
Broad daylight. Traffic going by. at a almost like a traffic
it looked like a freeway off ramp. So anyway.
Yeah, like there's a lot of traffic going by religiously. He just walks out.
He's like, yeah, I need to clean. He calls Jules and goes, I need a cleanup team. Actually, no, he doesn't call Jules because he doesn't trust Jules anymore. He calls a guy named Alex who works under Jules, who was a former police officer. But yeah, gets a cleanup team. But basically, like, Judith is dead. But now Norman is on the rampage. Cut to, we get Charles and the lawyer. The lawyer wants to move forward with Charles, but he wants it to be in secret. He wants it to be like under the cover of darkness that they're together. And Charles doesn't want that. He wants to be open. But the lawyer is like, listen, I work for the Good Old Boy Network. Like, they're not cool with me messing with other dudes like this. And Charles recognizes that, but he also wants more. But he also doesn't want to be in a monogamous relationship, which is what the lawyer wants.
Long story short, Charles takes his ass to the goddamn club. Then Charles's dad pulls up, sees Charles's car, and like, I can't go in.
Yes, because Horace was there to visit Angel again.
And then he pulls into the sex lot,
which was random. He's like, get Kimmy. He tells the bouncer, get me Kimmy. And he's like, you want to go in to see Kimmy? You go to the VIP lounge? He's like, nah. He's like, is there somewhere else I can meet Kimmy? He's like, yeah, you can meet her around back. So he goes around back, and it's just everybody having sex on cars. So many people having sex on cars.
Pretty much the sex lot. I don't
Women
know.
on women, guys on guys, guys on women.
I don't know what strip club.
It looked like strippers having sex with other strippers. It was very confusing. It's pretty much
strippers having sex with strippers. I don't know what club where the police just don't go to the club at all and just do whatever.
Well, they own the police, though. That's the other thing. The family owns the police. And we know that someone in the family owns that club. It wasn't clear who exactly at first. But we find out it's just Norman. Norman's the only one who owns that club.
Anywho, what's her name? Kimmy comes out back, talks to him.
Well, she signals Angel like, hey, the time is now for us to run this grift on Horace. She meets Horace in the truck, and she's like, I can go get him if you want. And he's like, no, this will be too obvious. We need to meet at my house. And she goes, okay, whatever.
He gives her an address and all that stuff.
He gives her an address. He gives her money, but he notes that she's like acting funny. She's acting real funky. And she goes, you don't know me.
So then,
let's
backtrack a couple of seconds. So she's in the back talking to
Horace or Angel.
Angel.
Mm-hmm.
Angel lets know everything's a go.
He also has people involved in their coup.
So before that, Angel was talking to another male stripper who's in debt and letting him, hey, we gonna get this money. He like, yeah, I got you. I got some of my friends or goons to help me out do this. He's
He
like, all
didn't
right.
say goons. He does need the muscles because he wanted somebody to hold Horace so they could blackmail him for more money.
So he's like, yeah, I got you. Whatever.
He's like, but keep it low, don't be telling nobody. And
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, whatever. But that same stripper also gets involved with Calvin, who's at the club. Or not Calvin, Charles. But
So-
Charles, who's at the club.
So then that stripper, fast forward, he's dancing. He bumps into,
No, he gets called over by Charles.
calls over by Charles, and now him and Charles are flirting.
Well, not just Charles is flirting. At first, the stripper's like, what do you want? But then Charles is like, what would it take to get you to come back to my place? And he's like, 3,000. And he's like, I'll give you 1,500. He's like, all right, cool. Yeah, I'll take it.
And
But meet me in the bathroom. And I was like, why do you need to meet him in the bathroom if you're
And
going
I
back
got-
to his place?
and I got that candy for you.
Basically, cocaine.
I was like, okay, cool. They meet in the bathroom.
And
My
he
man-
gets ready to go to work. The stripper pushes Charles against the wall, turns him around. He's like, whoa. I want romance. I don't want all this. Yes, I just snorted lines of coke off of this dirty toilet, but I want romance.
He's about
Let me
to,
give you my address.
he's gonna pound them cheeks really, really fast and hard.
He said, give me your phone
True.
and I'll put my address in it. Okay. But then we fast forward and the club is closing and Charles is passed out. He's passed out. And when they wake him up, he realizes a lot of his stuff is gone. He doesn't know where his phone is. His watch is missing. He's like, wait a second. And they kick him out the club. Fast forward again, we see Charles's car going down their private driveway and a shitload of guys with guns show up and just shoot the hell out of it.
looks like a wet team.
A SWAT team?
Wet team.
What? Okay.
That's a team like, say like Special Forces has a do a raid on a compound. It seemed like they had somebody set up a raid on a compound, and
Why are they called a wet team?
because I don't know, it's acronym for something.
Interesting.
Something tactical, whatever.
Wet?
Yeah,
WET.
yeah. T is for tactical. The E is for something. The W is for something. I don't remember what it is.
Okay.
I've been out of that world for so long.
We're just going to throw these out there, but you don't know what any of it means? All right. But yeah, all these dudes with guns show up.
Pretty much, and they just destroy the car.
But
How they don't shoot each other with all these bullets that they're shooting, who knows? But they destroy the car.
how did they not alert other people? There was so much noise happening. Anyway, because somehow the fire department gets involved. So if nobody, they also flash back to the house. Nobody at the house knows what's going on. So who called the fire department? Anywho. Then we also see back at Horace's place where they're about to do whatever they're about to do. Angel can't control his emotions at all. So he is nervous as heck. He's texting on his phone maniacally and he's down in bourbon, like in gulps. And Horace knows something is up, but he still doesn't know exactly what's going on. Meanwhile, Kimmy is downstairs in this house. Just keeping an eye on things because they're about to run this grift. But then she gets a call from Kimmy and she's thrown because she thinks Kimmy is dead. But when she picks up the phone, Kimmy's like, yeah, some old man moved me to a nicer hospital. I'm feeling better. And Kimmy's like, crap, we got to call all of this off. We can't hold him up. He actually did what he said he was going to do. Why he didn't just tell her, I don't know. But he did.
No one tells anybody anything in the show, Javon. That's how we keep suspense.
But he kept alluding, like, after everything I did for you, why are you doing this? Why are you questioning me? And it's like, you didn't tell me anything.
It's called suspense, Javon.
So crazy. So Kimmy goes up to save Horace. She's like, we got to leave. Where's your back door? And he's like, before he could even get the words out, another team shows up. And we think they're with Angel because they're holding everybody at gunpoint. And they're like, where's the money, old man? And Angel's like, yo, calm down, because they're real aggressive. And he's like, calm down. And they ignore him entirely. And Horace tells them where the money is stashed. I don't know why this man keeps so much money under a mattress. That didn't make sense to me, but he does. So they get in and they go to get this money. And then Horace, who's been coughing on the floor this entire time, manages to get into a chair, pulls out a semi-automatic weapon, and just kills everybody. All of the people that broke in one swoop. And then aims the gun at Kimmy and Angel and is like, why did you do this? Who sent you? Who you working with? Basically. And they let it drop. They're like, I didn't think you took care of Kimmy. Or not Kimmy. I didn't think you took care of Rain like you said you would. We know we work for you. Jules is our pimp. We work at the club you own. We know how much we messed up. But Horace is looking at them like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, my Jules? The club? What? And then he asks them, like, how'd you even get into this? And they tell him that Jules had get in with some judge, and that's how they all have to work for him. And he's like, what's the judge's name? And it's something random, like a Thomas, Wisconsin, which is hysterical. So he's like that, we all went to school with him. I know him. But he's not aware of owning the club or this side sex trafficking business that's happening at all. So we see Horace slowly piece together that his brother Norman has something else going on with Jules. But he still calls Jules to come clean up the mess. And Jules pins the holdup on the security team that would have delivered the safe. Sure. Then,
Well, first of all, I told you he was gonna kill everybody except them two.
okay.
I told you that. I'm like, they're gonna get up in our room. They're gonna do what they're gonna do.
hmm
Something's gonna happen. Either he's gonna use that cane to start stabbing folks, or he's gonna do something crazy. And as soon as he did it, I'm like, I saw that coming. Now, like you said, I think he's piecing together that his brother might be doing some real foul, messed up stuff. Him and Jules and his brother might do some real foul, messed up stuff. I think so at the end, he has Jules, he talks to Jules, he asks Jules about his brother. Jules like, I don't know. He's like,
He doesn't ask about his brother. He asks about the judge.
then he asks about the judge. He's like, are him and my brother still friends? And Jules like, I don't know. He like, yo, can you set up a meeting between me and
He
him?
never mentions his brother. He just asks if
Yes,
Jules
he
still
does.
talks to him.
He asks Jules, does his brother still talk? Because I don't think Jules know the judge, but Jules didn't go to high school with the judge.
But
Or go to school with the judge.
first of all, when they're still in the house, you didn't watch this episode. When they're still in the house, Horace asks Jules, "Hey, I want you to make a meeting
Yeah, set up a
with
meeting
Thomas,
between-
Wisconsin, or
yeah.
whatever."
And that
And
dude.
he's like, "How well do you know him? I know me and my brother went to school with him." And Jules played it off like, "Oh, I don't know him. I don't talk to him that often. Yada yada blah blah blah." And Jules makes a face about him wanting to have the meeting in the first place. But then later, Horace calls this Wisconsin dude up himself, like directly. And it's like, I need you to come to my house at 6 a.m. And the judge is like, that's really early. Like, he's calling him at 2 a.m. He's like, this is like in a couple hours. But Horace is like, is that a problem? Like aggressively, is that going to be a problem? And the judge folds immediately and is like, no, that's not a problem. I'll be there at 6 a.m. So I don't know what the purpose of asking Jules to set this meeting was, if he's just going to turn around and ask this guy himself to come down, or if he's just waiting to see if he gets told different stories from the meeting Jules sets up versus what he talks to this guy directly. But they don't go into it. We don't get that far. But Mallory also is having a love tryst with Calvin, and I'm not sure what Calvin's angle is. He's also going back and forth with Jillian. Jillian's trying to get Roy to be in an affair with her, but it's not working. But Calvin is successful in getting Mallory to be in an affair with him. And I'm not sure what angle this is.
He's trying to get himself in a better place. That's all that is. He's trying to possibly either get out or get with her so she can get him out. That's all he's doing.
I don't see how that gets him out.
And
If
he-
anything, it gets him deeper.
It actually gets him out of the place that he's in. He's at least in a power position, semi-power position now. He doesn't have to work for Jules.
No, he does still work for Jules. Jules calls him to help clean up the bodies.
What I'm saying to you, that's why he's trying to get at Mallory. He thinks Mallory can possibly get him out.
I don't know.
That's why he's doing it.
I feel like he's doing this to Mallory to degrade her, in my opinion.
No, he's doing it because he's trying to get some leverage for himself. That's what he's trying to do.
Uh-huh.
Because he know Mallory and that dude is on borrowed time, probably.
Her and Roy.
Yeah. So he's trying to give some favor.
But my thing is, he says he's known Mallory for the last 2 years. So he knows that for her, image is everything, which is why she stayed with Roy for as long as she has. Technically, the show says that her and Roy have been married for the last 3 years. And it hasn't been happy at all.
He's trying to get out the position he's in. And he thinks Mallory can help him. That's why I think he's doing it. There's no other reason to do it other than just to be having sex.
Well, it's Tyler Perry. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is a twist within a twist within a twist.
So
So I wouldn't
that
be
being
surprised.
said, the other girl who
Jillian?
she's just stupid.
She's desperate.
She's stupid.
She's desperate.
No, she's stupid.
She's desperate. You can be both things. You can have
Okay.
you can have both of those things happening at the same time.
Yeah, you're right.
Is she reckless? Absolutely. But
leads him to believe she's gonna die.
They
Hopefully, she
they
dies.
hinted that maybe her and Calvin were both sex workers that ended up trying to do something and got caught by Jules. And now that's why they're working for the family. But my thing is they're actually higher than a lot of the people that work for Jules right now anyway. They live in the house. Granted, they got to deal with Mallory, but they live in the house. They don't have them tricking out for other people like they have the strippers doing. So they're actually in a higher position as is. And the reason I'm confused about how Calvin is moving right now, he's really trying to ingratiate himself with Mallory, who's not even a biological member of the family. Like if a divorce does end up going down or whatever, she's getting nothing. So I don't understand this move he's making unless it's to double cross Mallory and he's then going to show his loyalty to the family. That's the only thing that I can think of.
Whatever. Anywho, that's debauchery in black, or confusion in black. I don't.
Well, so we're left with, did Calvin die? We don't know. Or not Calvin, Charles. Did Charles die? Was he driving that car or was it the stripper? Did the stripper steal his car? But then how did the stripper get on the private road? Lord knows. Then Horace, what is Horace going to find out when he talks to this judge? Is he going to get the full picture about the sex trafficking business Norman is running? Did Norman set Horace up to be killed by that safe group?
Yes.
Or was it just a deal gone wrong with Angel's side hustle people he was trying to get with? Oh, and then we ended with Kimmy. Kimmy's sister is now in the mix of things. Body, who is the bottom bitch for Jules and supposedly running the girls for the strip club, has it out for Kimmy. For whatever reason, she's got in her head that Kimmy is coming for her job. So she's been on Kimmy's ass the entire part 1 of this season. And to get back at Kimmy, she starts thinking about getting to what Kimmy really loves the most, which is her sister. At first, she was going to go after Kimmy's mom, but then she realized that Kimmy didn't really have that strong relationship with her mother. So she goes after Kimmy's 16-year-old sister.
Why is she going after her mom?
She wanted to hurt Kimmy.
Okay.
So she was like, so at first, Delinda, who's the other mean lady that works at the strip club, was like, "You're going to trick out her mom?" And she was like, nah, she didn't care about her mom. So she got a sister, and that's when they start the wheels turning on how they can rope in the sister. They also showed early in that episode that the sister is desperate to get out of her situation too. She's been living with the mom and the mom's crazy boyfriend and dealing with the assault from that. So she's been trying to get out as well. Kimmy's been trying to save money to save her sister, but of course that's almost impossible with what they're doing. But Body ends up grabbing her little sister. And they show her to Kimmy like, haha, we got your sister, we're going to trick her out. And Kimmy goes off. She pins Body in between 2 cars by the end of that episode as well. So hopefully she killed Body, because if she left that lady alive, good God. But that's how we ended. With part 1 of Beauty in Black, with the second part coming out in spring of 2025. Ridiculous. But I loved it and I enjoyed it, so I will be watching. And Calvin watched some parts, so he enjoyed it.
No, it's too much.
He says no, but it was his recommendation that we make it the show we talk about on this very podcast.
Yeah, I made it a show that you can talk about on the podcast. I just think everybody don't need to be important, and there's just too many things going on, and to me, it's too much going on for these people to be successful criminals.
Honestly, with the whole not everybody needs to be important, if you look at like NCIS or CSI, it's an enormous cast of characters as well. So I don't, in my opinion, him having all these characters, first of all, that's not something new for Tyler Perry. If you watch any of his projects, there's a gazillion people in those things. So this is not new. Also, he's not the only one who does it. If you don't like the way of his storytelling, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Whatever. Whatever. I don't care. It's just, I just think there's just way too much stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're the drug dealers of.
They're not dealing any drugs though. You keep saying that, but they're not dealing any drugs.
They're the drug dealers of prostitution. That
makes them human traffickers, Calvin.
They're just killing unnecessary folks and bringing more heat on themselves. How they don't have no heat themselves is amazing to me.
Well, no, they
I don't
explained
care
that they've
if
got
you-
high tier contacts in there.
At some point, somebody like, we got to do something about all these dead bodies in our city.
They're not leaving the bodies to be found though. They got cleanup crews to take care of it.
Oh, whatever, sure. So now you're telling me they're what's that dude? What's that movie with the
I thought you said
assassin?
you didn't care.
What's that movie with the assassin?
There's a lot of movies with
Oh
assassins.
my god, this is my favorite movie. John Wick. They're John Wick. That's what they are. They're allowed to operate as killers in this small town, and they just have cleanup crews. They give them gold coins, and they go clean up everything, and no one sees anything.
I don't know if you've noticed, but their cleanup crews are cops. That's who the cleanup crews are.
Okay.
It's cops.
They're not killing people in the same place, in the same area every time. They got to be moving down to different counties, killing these people. You mean to tell me?
Remember
no
when
police officers
Jules
in
was on the
no
phone
county
and was like, "What state and what city are you in?" So clearly, they got far-reaching ability. Clearly,
Stop.
I thought you said you didn't care.
I don't. My whole thing is they're doing too much to
Oh.
not be having. Like, if they had one investigator trying to investigate them because they think they did something wrong, I'd be
They
like,
do have somebody trying to invest them.
that makes sense.
It's
Who?
Lena.
That's the family corporation. It has nothing to do.
No, nope.
What's she investigating?
Like right now, they have the case that they're dealing with for the brand, the Beauty in Black brand. But she's using that as like a stepping stone to get into other stuff that they're doing. She's like an investigative lawyer for whatever reason.
Okay, cool. Then sure, whatever. Moving on to the Netflix documentary that we watched called Jailbreak Love on the Run.
Go ahead, go.
So this documentary is basically about this white lady named Vicky White and how she pretty much
This
was
white
like
lady.
yeah, that's what it was about.
She's a correctional officer
who
that
was a-
works at a state prison
Correctional officer who worked at a state prison who
in
pretty much-
Alabama.
in Alabama who pretty much helped this criminal escape. This
A convicted murderer.
a convicted murderer. This 6'9", almost
He was 300 pounds.
300 some pound dude that
Yeah.
no one can miss. She helped him walk right out of the county. First of all, I don't know why he was in county so long.
He was waiting trial. He was indicted, but he was not tried.
They
for
gotta
it yet.
find. That's what I'm saying. They need to find different places to put murderers and people with just little.
Like I stole this candy bar.
Yeah,
Mhm.
at different places, so this won't happen.
Oh, like the guy who said he slashed his dad's tires, so he was in jail for a year
Yeah,
for third-degree manslaughter.
yeah. But he's in the same place with a killer,
Or was it manslaughter? No, it was third-degree assault.
domestic abuse and
Yeah,
assault.
domestic violence.
But
or
he's
something.
in there with a dude that's on capital murder.
Well,
So
that's our system. But don't.
But yeah, so the guy that she, I guess, helped leave was Casey White.
Help leave.
Yeah, she helped him leave.
Help him escape.
Leave, escape, same thing.
No,
They left.
They aren't the same. Well, basically, they just walked away.
They
But yeah.
walked away. They left. So his name was Casey White.
Listen, the way that this story broke down, I was very impressed by this little documentary. First of all, the watch is not long. It's an hour and like 20 minutes maybe. And they fit a lot. And it didn't feel like they were cramming it.
It's concise.
It was really good.
They give you their opinions, how they felt. Pretty much, Vicky was like the #1 correctional officer.
She
in
was
this
that
place.
girl, absolutely. Everybody loved her. All her coworkers loved her. She knew her job inside and out.
She trained everybody else. If they had any questions, they will call her if she's off to
Mhm.
ask her.
And she would answer.
That's how important she was to this correction facility.
Well, not only just in terms of work, but like as a friend. A lot of them really viewed her as a close friend. And not just her workers, the inmates. The inmates also thought that she was this really highly praised person that looked out for them.
because she's treated them with a level of respect.
Like humans. She treated them like humans. Like the guy who slashed his dad's tires who was in there. They wanted to strap him down to like this gurney to like stop him from moving for whatever reason. But she was like, he's not a threat. We don't need to dehumanize him like this. We would just walk him to his cell. And these inmates that they have like, to give their perspective really give a very high like complimentary review of her, in their perspective of her. Like she was just this really kind, almost like mother-like figure for them.
So one day, walks in this 6'9", 300-pound dude named Casey.
Casey White.
Everybody knew him.
Well, he'd been in and out of the system for ages.
So
always for like domestic violence.
So he walks in. I guess they put him in her cell or whatever. Her section or whatever. Because she had a section of cells that they put people in. He was in her section in her cell.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess one day she walked by and he yelled through
nice ass.
Nice ass. Flat ass.
No, he didn't say the flat ass part. He was very complimentary.
She's like, you said I got a nice ass.
Well, the other thing that they stressed though was like being a female corrections officer, you get hit on a lot actually. There's a lot of guys in there that are trying to manipulate you and saying all kinds of complimentary things to you.
I guess he said it the right way, the right tone, the right type of voice and everything. So that's when I guess they start having a little relationship.
They start talking more, yeah.
But I can understand why that happened. All she did was work, home, work, home.
Yeah.
She really had no outside life. She didn't have any kids.
Mm-hmm.
She pretty much just had her mom and her dad. So
she was lonely.
So she probably was at the peak of loneliness, and he came at the right time.
But the thing is, he had been there for a little bit. It wasn't like he was brand new. He had been there for a little bit.
Yeah.
And she was like ignoring him, but then all of a sudden she was like, "Okay, yeah, let's talk a little bit more. What else is happening?"
So,
the other thing is nobody noticed this was happening
because no one noticed, but no one expected her to do it.
True.
That's why.
Because she was like a 12, 20-year veteran doing this. It was amazing.
So first, I guess she started giving him commissary and all that stuff. She started bringing his mail to him.
The inmates start noticing that she's around a lot.
And then next thing you know, he starts giving her letters, but they're like, these letters aren't addressed.
The letters were first, and then the extra commissary came after.
So, dude,
he would say, "I got to talk to my lawyer," but they're like, "Why are you calling your lawyer gorgeous?"
So they'd
let them out to the yard, but he wouldn't go.
The inmates noticed, and one of the inmates started, I guess, wanted to talk. And the other inmates shut him up because they're like, "You're not going to fuck up our commissary."
Right. We're getting stuff out of this. Shut the hell up.
Shut your mouth, Greg. You shut up. Shut up, Greg.
But then there were people who got out of jail who were like, "You need to pay me.
I love Doritos.
You need to pay me or I'm going to talk about what else is happening with y'all."
So I guess it took Greg in the shower. So Greg said one more time, "I'm going to pump your butt full of lead."
I think the other thing that was incredible was how much tape they had of them talking. There's so much of it. There's so much.
Which that gets me. I'm like, no one said, "Hey, this is odd or weird."
I think she knew they didn't check because she was talking pretty openly about a lot of things. She used a separate phone and everything, but she knew it was being recorded. She definitely knew that. But I think she also knew that they weren't checking them like that.
That's the only thing, because there's no way somebody be like, "Hey, is Vicky talking to Casey?"
They weren't checking it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm like, so.
And they only came across all of this post-mortem after she passed.
So it sounds like to me she was the only one listening to the callbacks or tapes.
It sounds to me like they only listened when something was triggered, and then they had to go back and listen. That's what it seemed like to me.
So, fast forward, Vicky and Casey do like a dry run, which no one noticed it was dry run to after the fact. She pretty much does a no what she tells them not to do, which is you walk in front of the inmate and not behind him.
Well, so she take him out for his mental health evaluation they're supposed to have at the courthouse. So they go out, they drive out, and then there's video footage of them coming back, and it's her not going back in through the normal means to do so. They're going through a side door. She gets him back in his cell without having to go through any of the other stuff that she's supposed to go through or being noticed by anybody either.
And they tell you never walk in front of the inmate because you never trust them. And it was like after the fact, they were like, so she trusted him so much, that's why she walked in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't pay attention to him or do anything. She trusted him so much. So fast forward. The day before she retires, she puts in her retirement papers to the main guy. He's like, "You sure you want to retire?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm done." I'm to my limits. I'm done.
The sheriff, yeah.
So everybody's sad. They're crying or whatever.
Because they loved her.
The next day they have like her
Party.
her retirement party. She gives her brass,
which is basically her nameplates and stuff.
Her pretty much her collar stuff to this one girl who she trained. She thought that was emotional. The girl started.
It's
crying.
A big deal. It was a big deal to give.
And her last act was to pretty much take Casey to his last
mental health evaluation.
Mental health evaluation, like Javon said. She goes to the
courthouse.
Well, she goes to his cell, gets him out.
No, she asked the boys to take him to detaining, which is normal for them. They go and do that. They shackle him to get ready for transport. So that was all normal. And then when she went in later, she unshackles him, which again is normal because she's taking him to the courthouse. But when he gets into her cruiser, he gets in the front seat. He doesn't get in the back seat.
No, he does get in the back seat.
You were asleep.
They showed him getting in the back seat.
That was the dry run. When they go to make their escape, he's in the front seat.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So during the escape, I guess he gets in the front seat. No one. And here's another thing. No one's looking at the cameras at that time?
No.
These people.
They're in Alabama.
They were too lax.
They were too lax, you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, they learned that lesson. Hopefully.
That's why. So,
but this is also somebody they trust, and this is also somebody who knows their system. And
they go on the run.
They used the guise of her transporting him to the courthouse to make their escape. Instead of taking him to the courthouse. Well, actually, no. She still took him to the courthouse.
They go to the courthouse to drop off the police vehicle.
No, they still did the check-in at the courthouse, so that was still on record. But then they go to the Walmart, and they start switching the cars after that. That's when they start switching cars.
They go there to check in, but to also drop off the police car.
It wasn't in front of the courthouse, though. That police car was found in front of the shopping center.
Okay, I'm just confused. Anywho,
you were asleep.
No, I'm confused. I saw that part. I thought it was in front of the
no, courthouse. It wasn't. No, because they called the courthouse to check in to see if they had made it. They're like, yeah, they came in, and then they're like, did they leave? And they're like, we don't know. And that's when they went and checked the courthouse to see if they were still at the courthouse. Because they did check in.
So they're now on the run. They ditched their police car. They get another car. And they pretty much go on the run. So now there's a national manhunt.
That went on for 11 weeks. That's crazy. And this was in 2020. This wasn't something like in 2012 or even the early 2000s. This was during the pandemic. They got pretty far. They made it from Alabama all the way into Indiana.
If you let them tell it, they didn't make it that far.
They waited all the way. They got 175 miles of distance between them.
But in everybody else's eyes, they should have been further.
Interesting. Well, I thought in everybody else's eyes, they should have caught them sooner. They kept saying that it would be better if they caught them within hours of the escape versus weeks.
So then what happens is what actually triggers them to start tracking them down where they are. They have a Ford F-150. They ditch it in a
it wasn't a Ford F-150.
It was a Ford F-150.
No, that orange car was not a F-150.
The car that they tracked to, they finally got where their location was close to.
They had that orange car first. That's what they switched out into, which was like a Ford something.
Then they switched into, they had a truck. They had a Ford F-150. That's what they found at the
car wash.
Mm-hmm. They found that car. That's how they figure out.
They didn't find that car.
Vicinity they were.
They didn't find that car. They got told that car was there because the guy who owns the car wash called the media.
Yeah, they found out that a vehicle was just sitting there in the car wash.
Mm-hmm. And the car wash owner, I guess he was the owner or the manager.
He
recognized who dropped off the car.
Yeah, because I think they put out
a bolo
on it,
which is be on the lookout.
So they found that truck at a
car wash.
That dude also called the news.
No, he called the news first.
No, I think he called them first, and after he called them, they called the news.
No, he called the media first. That's how they found out about it. The tip they got wasn't from the guy at the car wash. It was from the media.
I swear.
That's why the guy was like, it would have been nicer if we had gotten the tip first and not the media.
I swear he said the dude called them first.
No.
And then when they got there, they're like, "Why is all this media there?" He was like, "I called them."
Yeah, he did say I called them, but they got the tip from the media, not from the guy.
Okay.
They were trying to beat the media there,
Okay.
but they
Anywho,
didn't.
So now they go back and look at surveillance tapes, and they find out
They switched cars again.
they switched cars again. Casey parked it in the car wash lot, into the car wash hold, got out and walked to another car, which is now a Cadillac.
Mhm.
So they pretty much finally tracked the Cadillac to a motel. And this is where it starts looking like Dukes of Hazzard.
Mhm.
They come out, they get in the car, and they're now driving kind of fast through the parking lot, and you see a trail of police cars chasing this one car.
Mhm.
They go around in like a square, and then finally they veer off into like grass near a
I
ditch.
thought they didn't catch them at the motel. I thought they caught them like leaving.
They caught them at the motel. They were sitting there on standby, I guess, setting up to get SWAT to go in or something.
Oh.
SWAT never got there or whatever because they came out. And they came out, got in the car, and I guess they noticed they were being followed.
I wonder why she said we should have stayed at the hotel then.
Because she was like, we should have. I guess, in her mind, I think she thought that they picked them up when they started driving.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she knew they were already at the hotel.
Oh.
So I think she thought that, in her mind, we should have stayed at the hotel. Our ass would be getting chased right now.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't have been out of here. But she didn't know that they were already at the hotel watching them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they pretty much get rammed. They do like
they get rammed into a ditch.
Yeah, the police. I forgot what the police call it when they just hit the other car to try to stop them.
We don't need technical terms.
They rammed them. They fall into a ditch. They crash into a ditch, and Vicky accidentally.
We find out later, but they're hurt. They crash hard into this ditch. They're hurt. They get ambulance on the scene.
They hear a gunshot.
They pull Casey out. They didn't hear a gunshot. They heard it later on the tape. They didn't hear a gunshot before then because they thought Vicky was breathing.
I swear they heard a pop, and they were like,
they heard the pop in the recording.
I swear I thought they said they heard a pop.
No,
that's why they said approach the vehicle slowly. He has a gun.
He had a gun, but they didn't hear no pops.
So they get in there. They go. Vicky's injured.
They think it's from the car wreck. Then that's when, after she passes, when they find out that there's a ballistic.
So come to find out, she might have either committed suicide or accidentally shot herself.
Because the trajectory of the shot is like from the back of her head towards the front, which is confusing if it is a suicide shot. Like there's a theory that it's a suicide because she realized she was caught and she didn't want to go back to prison knowing how that system works. But then there's another theory that maybe through during the accident and getting hit with those bags, if she was holding a gun, it could have gone off in her hands. And that's how it would have ended. But unfortunately, it ends with her dying. She dies that night. But they managed to get her out of the vehicle, but she's dealing with a head trauma and she doesn't make it through the night at all. And Casey goes back to jail. He also gets pinned with a felony murder charge for her death.
Yeah. That's what happens. I don't know what you want to say about that. That's what happens.
They're
not going to take ownership of that.
I appreciated the dual perspective that we got of these two, because you have the inmates who are well aware that this is not a legal situation, but they are like, these were just two people who fell in love. Like, this wasn't a monster who manipulated, some unknowing, seamless innocent. These were two grown people who made grown decisions. And we're basically like, we don't care about the consequences. We want to be together. That's how these inmates see it. And then you see her friends who are other correctional officers or working in the administrative side of the institute. And they're like, he manipulated her. He absolutely manipulated her. He tricked her into thinking that he really cared. Nobody who's in love with somebody would put them in danger, let alone let them lose their life. And it's like, this is very interesting.
So,
and a lot of phone sex calls. There were so many phone sex calls. So many that they played.
But yeah, this was actually a good watch.
It was a great watch. It was short.
It was short. It was quick.
But it gave you a lot of information. A lot of
They
information.
also talk about how she went to the stores and slowly bought all this stuff
That was smart.
to get ready for this escape.
That was so. I mean, her being so detailed though was also one of her hindrances. That's how they were able to track so much stuff because she
She
was so detailed.
she like went and like bought one thing
She'd
of
go
camp
and get groceries at Walmart and
and then
then
get
buy one item for camping. So like a sleeping bag or a tent or a lantern light, like, and kind of like put it in with her regular grocery shopping. And the only way they were able to track that down is because she kept meticulous notes of her charges so that she could keep her budget because she was trying to save as much money as possible for this escape. She sells her house quickly. She ended up doing an auction for her home and got well under market value. Her home was easily valued at 200 something, but she sells it for 95,000 just to get out of there. So, listen, this lady was dedicated. She knew not to get rid of cell phones. She knew not to do too much Google search history stuff because that could get pulled. To be careful, kind of be careful about what they said on the
she
tapes.
also was using a burner phone when she was calling the
Prison.
correction facility.
But my thing, how clearly that burner phone did nothing. Clearly that burner phone did nothing because they still have your voice that they easily recognize because they work with you for so
Obviously
long.
they don't because no one was listening. So in essence, she wasted her money on a burner phone. So that's that to me.
And the theory was that they were trying to make their way to Alaska. I thought they were trying to move to be in Tennessee and live in the boonies.
Stop. If they're going to Alaska, they were going the wrong way.
No, they were going from where they were, Alabama, through
They
Tennessee.
just went north. They didn't go northwest or nothing.
They didn't get farther enough to go northwest because you got to go into Canada to get into Alaska. And they didn't want to be in this. They didn't want to stay in the States longer than they had to. So going straight north was the smarter option rather than going across the country and then trying to go north.
But they weren't trying to get out the States neither because they, in 11 days, they didn't get no farther than.
It wasn't 11 days. It was 11 weeks.
So in 11 weeks, they only got to Indiana.
Yeah. From Alabama?
Alabama.
Yeah.
In 11 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. They had to switch cars, take rest. They're also old. Take rest.
Stop, Javon.
I'm just saying.
They should have been way further than Indiana.
I'm just saying. I'm sure also you had Casey who hadn't been freed in a minute who wanted to enjoy stuff. So I'm sure that also took time.
Well, now he enjoying jail because he didn't get his ass out of here fast enough.
I did find it interesting that he referred to her as his wife. And in everything I found, she has his last name. She's known as Vicky White. So I don't know if they legally got married at some point. He said it wasn't religiously. It was his law, whatever that means. But they call her Vicky White.
That's messed up. And that's pretty much all I got for the
It was good.
Documentary.
Speaking
Love
of
on the Run.
Loving prisoners, let's talk about life after lockup.
That's real prison right there. Love after lockup. I guess I'll start it off.
Okay.
Bianca and whoever the hell she's with, I don't even know.
Daniel
pretty much starts off with Bianca crying about not being sad. Well, her and Daniel have a conversation about what she told his cousin. And she told him.
Daniel brings this up. He's like, hey, you were talking to Rob about maybe having a drinking problem and that I don't give you foreplay? And she goes, I don't have a drinking problem. I don't need to drink every day, but I like drinking. And I like it so much. And then they played the tape of her going, I might have a drinking problem. So
whatever. So now they going through his, I guess, his box from jail, looking at pictures and stuff.
You're skipping around. What did Daniel say about her talking to Rob about their foreplay?
Don't. The end.
Do you remember her response?
I don't care.
Basically, she was like, if you were more romantic, then I wouldn't have to talk to anybody. And
Whatever.
it was like, what?
Now they're going through the box.
He finally made her coffee.
From jail, that they're looking through the pictures and all that stuff. I guess they decide that they're going to go for a walk.
No, they don't decide. She tells him because he's not being She complains about the romance. Remember that they also got into a very awkward conversation about their sex life after the foreplay business, in which she said, you're not soft about it. I'm a girl. I like it soft. And then says that she likes a dom sub situation, which is that's not necessarily soft. And then says that he was too carnal. And I'm like, well, okay, great. And she's like, I want a little more romance, but I want him to be dominant. I'm like, what does that mean? What's that look like? So he is like, okay. And then she goes, let's go for a walk. We're talking about romance. Let's go for a walk. And then we get a side confessional from Daniel being like, it's clear to me that she doesn't feel secure in our relationship. So maybe if I give her this ring that I bought at the thrift store, it's at least a compromise. And I'm like, if she sees a ring, she's going to think engagement. She's not going to think promise ring. But okay, Daniel. So they get ready to go on this walk. He makes an excuse to go back and get his phone, grabs the ring. The walk doesn't go well at all. Daniel quickly gets overwhelmed. He's talking about how this space is too big. And then Bianca is complaining that he's not holding her hand correctly. He's not walking with her well. Girl. He gets frustrated, he gets upset, he walks away. She breaks into tears. Why is this happening to me? Why can't we have a normal relationship? Yeah, he told me in jail he's scared of open spaces, but this is me. So then she wants a hug. She's a little girl. He's dating a little girl.
Oh, okay. Apparently I was told, I thought the reason he had problem with open spaces because he was in solitary the whole time. I was told apparently Arizona prisons are small and they have no windows. So he's been pretty much inside a building for 5 years.
Pretty much solitary confinement.
Pretty much solitary confinement. So now, knowing all that information, okay, I it makes sense to me. And like she said, Bianca can care less.
Mm-hmm.
But I will give her one thing. It sounded like she finally kind of figured it out later when they started talking. I guess, hopefully. Who knows?
I don't think so.
She could be lying. Moving on to Brittany and Caracas.
Okay.
So Brittany and Carac. So pretty much Brittany gets the call, pretty much talks to her PO. The PO's like, I don't recommend you guys getting eloped because Texas going to think it's kind of suspicious that y'all just getting eloping.
It's like they're already suspicious because they submitted
suspicious.
More than one travel request has been denied. And then this quick turnaround marriage is not going to make them feel like this is a natural course of things.
More suspicious. So Brittany's friend is like, are you going to tell Carac? She says no.
Well, first of all, Brittany was like, fuck this PO. I'm going to get married anyway. I'm going to get married anyway.
So they
can't tell me I can't live with my husband. Yes, they can.
She can go on.
Yes, they can.
We get to the next morning. Her and Carac is sitting there with the pimp named Novak.
No, her name is Coffee.
Okay. They're all sitting there and Brittany's getting ready.
They're staying at her place, so they're not sitting there.
They're all sitting there and Brittany's getting ready.
But she said
for the wedding. And Carac's like, you ready? And she's like, yeah. And Carac's like, are you sure?
No, he asked her if she's happy. He knows she's not ready because she's getting ready.
She's like, are you ready? Are you happy? Are you ready for this? And she's like, yeah. He's like, you sure? She's like, yeah. He's like,
He's like, I need a smile from you then.
Your energy is kind of off. And he's like, I don't feel like you. She's like, no, I'm ready. I'm ready for this. He's like, all right, cool. So I guess him and the pimp named Coffee leave with the dog, who actually has her own little wedding dress, by the way. And they leave to go to the venue to get ready. So Brittany's getting ready. Brittany's friend comes over and help get ready. And she's like, are you ready for this? And she's like,
Brittany's friend is steady trying to talk her out of this because she knows Brittany doesn't want it like this at all. And she heard the PO say this is a bad plan. So she's like, are you going to tell Carac any of this? And Brittany's like, no.
Fast forward, they get there. They're standing in front of each other, get ready to do their vows. And finally, Brittany goes, Carac, I got something to tell you. So they go
We don't know that she's going to talk about the PO.
They go walk off and talk, and that's where it ends.
It's a cliffhanger.
Bump.
Calvin, next couple. You got the list.
You don't have a list?
I have a list, but it's not in the order that you're saying it.
Zariah and Troy.
Zariah and Troy.
Go to Zariah and Troy in your list.
So what about them, Calvin?
Her parents' house burns down. The end. Because of witchcraft and whatever stuff. Crystals and all that stuff. Ungodly stuff that she brought to her parents' house. And her parents were like, "You're the reason our house burned down. It's because you brought all this ungodly stuff in our house." So she's over there with Troy. They're trying to figure out what happened, how the house catch on fire. So her dad comes, and Troy and her dad go off. And pretty much her dad says it was like an electrical fire that starts in, I guess, her brother's room.
They didn't say where it started. She just noted that her brother's room is burned, as well as like the rest of the
Pretty
front of
much
the house.
that side of the house pretty much took the worst of the fire. I guess the brunt of the fire. So Troy and her dad are going over to the community center,
the church
parking lot to get ready for some community
for their outreach program that they run. Their nonprofit is having a community outreach program.
Pretty much they're having a community day in the parking lot. And her dad is like trying to make sure they got enough space to do what they need to do or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They go inside.
But he also is trying to get Troy ready for his speech because Troy's going to be talking on behalf of the nonprofit.
So he's like, so if you were to come up here and tell us.
And talk to the community.
What would you say? What you know about community?
Yeah.
Or anything. So Troy starts talking. And he goes over how his dad pretty much died. And he blames himself kind of for his dad dying because his dad had some type of disease. And then the disease got worse.
Well, he talks about serving time in prison and then talks about his dad and then talks about how they probably made his kidney disease worse because unfortunately, he got sick really, really fast after he started doing dialysis. So, but also it was a one-off because what did that have to do with the rest of the time that we talk with Zariah and Troy? Nothing. We don't even see them have the community day. I'm still confused how they still have this nonprofit. They kept showing us clips of how they have no money. So, how are we doing this?
Pretty much, I think the dad was... My only issue with the dad, because they're amazing. The mom and dad are amazing. My only issue is he's trying to push something on him that I don't think he was called for. Or maybe he wasn't called for yet. Who knows? But it works. He's like, I believe you.
Mm-hmm.
And you did a great job telling your story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you got to do. Moving on to Zariah, calls her mom because she's like, her mom is not really talking to her. And she feels the reason her mom's not talking to her because she went to see a psychic.
She brought devil into their lives. And it burned down their house.
So the mom she thinks the mom is feeling some type of way.
She thinks the mom's going to blame her for the house fire because she talked to a psychic.
So the mom, she calls the mom. They end up meeting at her house, her place, to talk. And that's when we learn how Zariah was adopted and how her father,
her biological
father is in her life, but her biological mom wants nothing to do with her.
Mm-hmm.
And how, it was kind of a messed up way to start asking about, so we want to know if you guys going to help us with the wedding.
It was like, yeah, the house fire, that's crazy. How you guys doing? And she's like, yeah, we're in the motel. We're making it do what we do. She's like, yeah, okay. So how are you guys going to pay for our wedding? It's like, okay.
She like, and her mom being a sweet, amazing woman, like, don't worry about it. Of
course we're going to help you.
We'll figure it out. So.
And then Zariah's like, I want to invite my biological father
to walk me down the aisle.
Yeah.
And she's like, what do you think, how you think dad's going to feel about that? She's like,
dad's going to marry us.
She said, dad's going to marry us. She's like, you'll be fine with that, I guess.
Mm-hmm. But that's when we get the backstory of Zariah being adopted, her trying to get in touch with her biological mom, that not really working out, and Zariah feeling away ever since. Like, she feels unwanted, basically, and she's still dealing with the ramifications of being an adoptee. Calvin thinks she should get over it, but I'm like, okay.
Yes, it has nothing to do with your future.
I'm just saying, I don't think you can dictate how people should feel.
My thing is, I'm not saying she should get. My thing is, it's time to move on. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think you can set a time limit for somebody else. I don't know that you can do that.
It's already made it known and plain. She don't want nothing to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
You sitting here worrying about why she don't want to have nothing to do with you is not going to make her want to have anything to do with you.
Uh-huh.
So stop worrying about somebody who don't want to do anything with you and move on.
I just think it's very easy to say as an outsider.
And enjoy the people who want to be with you and be in your life.
I just think it's very easy to say when you're an outsider.
My dad wasn't in my life. I didn't waste my time worrying about why my dad...
You are not an adoptee.
My dad wasn't in my life.
It wasn't just that her dad wasn't in her life. Neither of her biological parents are in her life. She ended up having a relationship with her biological father as an adult, not as a kid.
Anywho, like I said,
You had your mom the whole time.
if you stop, you can't keep putting in energy on people who is not putting energy into you.
Sure, but I think everybody reaches that lesson at
That's
different
all I'm
times.
saying. Anywho, moving on to Kimberly and Joe. And Joey. Kimberly and Joey.
Kim?
Her name is Kimberly.
Nobody calls her Kimberly, though.
I don't care. Her name is Kimberly.
Okay.
I could go Kimberly.
Okay.
Anywho.
Nobody calls her Kimberly.
Kimberly. Pretty much her and Joey get into it because she finally tells Joey she's still married.
Joey was under the impression she was divorced. So he was like, what do you mean?
So he's
what
like,
you talking about?
How about you hurry up and get this shit done? And we're going to go to the courthouse. We're going to file the paperwork and do all this stuff. And she goes, yeah.
To be fair to Joey, that makes sense because he's like, we are planning to buy a house and get married. How are we going to do all that if you're still married to somebody else? How's that work? We're going to buy a house where your husband owns half of it and I don't own anything? Is that what are we doing? What are we doing here? And Kim is at first is like, you're overreacting. But then it's like, okay, well, maybe it was messed up of me to do that.
And that's pretty much the end of that couple. And the final couple, Melissa and Louie. Pretty much, Louie is trying to set up a surprise proposal for Melissa, but Melissa won't get out her goddamn way and shut the hell up and let him do it. So Louie gets with his friend and goes down to like the beach where a lighthouse is and pretty much writes in the sand, "Marry me." Before that, Melissa's at work and she bumps and her friend comes up, Fran, which is such an Italian name.
Fran?
For a white woman.
You said Fran twice. Is it Fran?
It's Fran. She pretty much sits there, starts talking to Melissa, shows Melissa a clip of Louie pretty much doing one of his workout with one of his clients.
Yeah, doing his personal training.
And pretty much she's trying to show this lady how to do the rope thing. He gets behind her, pretty much shows her how to do the rope thing, how to get the motion going, and then he moves. And she's like, you see that right there? You see the 2 thrusts he does behind her?
He's doing any thrusts.
He thrusts twice. See how sexual that is?
Actually, the show panned them taking the video of this clip that she's sending, and you see that there's space between the two of them. He's leaned over just to move her arms. Like the rest of him is not touching her. It's hilarious.
So then Melissa sees that and starts going.
See, that's why I think he's a whore. That's why I think he's cheating on me. Why has he got to touch his clients?
Fast forward, he gets her there. She's like, see, this is why I don't, and she's complaining the whole time.
Well, okay, one of her complaints is that he didn't tell her how to dress for this particular excursion because he's got her climbing all these steps, and she's in heels and leather at the beach, and she's like, you told me to dress fancy, and he's like, well, you should know by now. And it was like, what shouldn't she know? I thought that complaint was valid because climbing all those steps in those heels, not ideal.
Shut your mouth.
Also, she's scared of heights, and he's got her so high up.
Apparently she wasn't scared of heights when she saw that ring, though.
I guess not.
Exactly. I'm scared of heights. Oh, ring.
What also killed me was her being like, I kept saying 2-carat ring, but I didn't know what that looked like. He could have bought her a 1-carat ring.
Anywho, he pretty much got her up there, proposed. She complained the whole way up there. She saw that ring, and whatever happened. And then
she said he proposes. Yes. She says yes.
And then
when they get down, she's like, I don't even care that he has all these female clients. This ring is making it worth it. But then also insinuates that he still was inappropriate with these clients, and they'll talk about it later. It's like, okay,
whatever. And
Louie, why would you do this to yourself? Why are you trapping yourself?
And it's pretty much just Love After Lockup.
Yep. You got any other shows you've been watching?
No, I got some shows I got to catch up on. I'm trying to get back and watch the skate one. I forgot what the name of it was. I think it's probably So You Think You Can Skate. I don't know.
They should have used that.
So I don't know, but try to catch up on that. It's actually we already watched a documentary on Netflix I wanted to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, there's another documentary. Mm-hmm. There's one with like LeBron, the players from the Dream Team, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, all of them.
Oh, a different Dream Team? Not the only Dream Team I know.
The last one we had with all of them on it, and it's pretty much following them, I guess. Their daily routines or whatever.
Who cares?
And that's pretty much. It's nothing I'm really watching. I need to get back into um that Queen Latifah show. Equalizer.
Interesting.
I need to get back into that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are and too, I need to catch back up on my 90 Day Fiance stuff. I'm starting to miss that show. Also, I got to catch up on Mama's Boy too.
Lord, why? Ugh. Clearly, it's not. Usually, I hear some kind of chatter about Mama's Boy at this point, like on social media. It's been dead silent. It's like nothing. I don't think people are watching it. Good, don't watch it. I finished Agatha all along. They did their season finale this last Thursday. It was really good. It was really good. And they gave this huge trailer of what other Marvel shows to expect coming down the pike. There's a lot of good TV. Daredevil's coming back.
Okay.
With the original people from the Netflix Daredevil series. I was like, oh, okay. Let's see where this goes.
Sure.
It being on Disney, interested because what's that gonna look like? And I want to rewatch the Deadpool Wolverine. That's supposed to be coming to Disney soon too.
Sounds great.
Calvin, you got anything else?
No, I never have anything else. I don't know why we keep.
You don't have a last shout out for Elliot Shock, aka Static Shock, aka the current belt holder.
If you ever bring that name up on the show again, this will be the last podcast we ever do.
He's going to be defending his title at the Jingle in a Cell.
Thank you guys for tuning into our last podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed the series that we gave you. Hopefully, you guys found something you liked or didn't like. Either you listened for fun or you hate listened.
What do you think of the return of ECW?
ECW is coming back?
They're doing like an anniversary remembrance type deal with it. They're doing a crossover with NXT and the old ECW. I guess it's not called a stadium where they had their matches before, whatever that place is called, the venue. They're doing it at the old ECW venue. My thing is that guy going to be there? The dude apparently who used to run ECW, who now shows up as a presenter.
He's probably behind the scenes with WWE now.
Well, no, he is behind the scenes, but he hasn't been on camera in a minute.
He'd probably say something. I don't know.
Because they brought back your boy, something Van Dam.
Rob Van Dam?
That one. They brought him back. And your other boy is going to be in the next NXWT tournament.
Okay.
What's his face? Something Dudley. He's one of the Dudley boys.
Bubba Dudley?
Bubba. He's going to be in a tag team partnership with somebody.
How you supposed to be this big wrestling guru and fan, but don't remember none of the names.
These are the old people. I don't know the old people.
Great.
But I'm excited. I want to see it. Also, their premium live event is happening right now for The Crown. I'm going to rewatch that. I have to catch up on Friday Night SmackDown, though. And I'm tempted to branch out into the other ones, like TNA and AEW. But from what I've heard, some people feel a way about AEW right now. Like they feel it's a Dollar Tree version of something. But what's his face is in it? Ashley.
The big bald black guy.
Yeah, what's his name?
Ashley River Road. I don't know.
Come. Anyway, he's there.
Brett Ashley Legs. I don't know.
Okay. But he's there. So that's it. Thank you for listening to We Like That podcast.
So we like that.
Go ahead and click that subscribe button. You know you want to. And rate us 5 stars. I'm Javon.
I'm Calvin.
Later, people.
And we're out.